Wow. What an episode. Oh, I'm still trying to get over what happened. Holy shit. So, I've got my notes. Right. So the episode started with the Masters returning to Slaver's Bay, to Meereen, to take back their property, lobbing, catapulting these fireballs towards the pyramids and the city, potentially killing lots and lots of innocent people. Daenerys rocked up at the end of the last episode, and she didn't seem too impressed about how and where the city had gone and come to during her disappearance, obtaining the Dothraki army. When she returned, she didn't look too pleased with Tyrion. Tyrion looked slightly worried and a little bit scared about what she was going to do, because she looked pretty pissed off. Turns out that she actually accepted what had happened, agreed that it wasn't entirely his fault, or kind of, I guess I interpret it as that she just wanted to plan something, needed a plan to be able to fight back. I don't think she was too pissed off as what I thought she would be. I just think she was a bit unimpressed that it had happened. It wasn't anybody's fault that she disappeared, she just took off on the fucking dragon, so nobody's fault. She made a plan. The plan was to confront the Masters, the people trying to take back Meereen. Instead of taking back Meereen, the Masters came face to face with 3 dragons. Drogon appeared and landed. Daenerys hopped onto the dragon and started to ride it. Destruction happened. That's all I can really say. She set alight the boat, or one of, maybe all of them, I don't know. Probably not all of them, because it sounds like that they have taken some of the Masters' fleet to be able to travel across the narrow sea. But she destroyed one of these boats, and the army in which were behind the Masters, they took off at the first chance that they could get. They were too scared, they surrendered. And then the Unsullied and Missandei, they said that the Queen demanded that one person of the Masters, one of these Masters, were to be killed for their crimes, to be punished. And as a coward does, they obviously nominated somebody else other than themselves, which led them to them getting killed instead. Instead of one person getting killed, it was 2, because that was the plan all along. One person was left to send a message back to Slaver's Bay. The other 2 were killed because arseholes. Daenerys won, even with Tyrion's slight mess up. It all played out in the end, apart from probably quite a lot of people being killed in the city of Meereen, some innocent people, but it could have been a hell of a lot worse. She did save the day by returning right on time, which is quite lucky. Somebody else who returned right on or didn't return, but arrived right on time, were the Dothraki nation, the Dothraki army. They appeared and heads went flying, and that was epic. I'm glad that they got to Meereen in time to help fight and battle against the Sons of the Harpies, and I'm hoping that now the Sons of the Harpy won't be a problem, and Meereen will continue to thrive as it was doing before the Slavers decided to attack. Then we come on to Jon Snow, and it seems that the Lord of Light did find something in him. The Lord of Light saw something in Jon, brought him back, and there was something there which was a sign. It was a certain sign that something good could potentially happen. We were glad that something like this had happened, that he was brought back to life, that he could fight and do what's right. We were all waiting for this to happen. So they started planning for this battle to take back Winterfell. Things were a bit iffy. We weren't entirely sure if things were going to go to plan. We knew that Jon didn't have an army big enough to fight. We knew that Jon would potentially lose, and that the interpretations from the fire were wrong again. Or, well, whatever Melisandre was seeing. But the Lord of Light clearly saw something in Jon, if the Lord of Light is a real thing. Swiftly we moved on to the arrival of Yara and Theon. I didn't think it'd be this soon, but they arrived and they proposed to give them the 100 ships that they have, plus the Masters' ships that Meereen now acquired, and to help travel along to the Narrow Sea and take back the throne. They know that Daenerys' dad was a psychopath, he was an evil king, but so was Yara and Theon's. They knew that they were both shit. What we saw was Daenerys really contemplating whether it was worth it, and a good deal being done, in my opinion, a really good deal being done. We've now got Yara and Theon's army, the ships, the Dothraki army, the dragons, and they've all come together to take back the Seven Kingdoms. The only thing that Yara and Theon's has to compromise for this agreement to work is for their way of living, which isn't a bad thing at all. Get over it, it's not needed. If you want to have the Iron Islands, you can compromise that, and you can have the Iron Islands under Daenerys' rule on the throne. And I think that would work very well. If there's a strong alliance there, things can work very well. I'm very glad that the uncle didn't get there before them, but I'm hoping that Daenerys doesn't decide to go for the fresh 1,000 ships, because frankly, she's got what she needs right here, and she doesn't need somebody as toxic as their uncle, especially with his big cock, to come swanning about, and she doesn't need that. She just needs loyalty, alliances between houses, and that's all she needs. Then we come to the battle scene. Holy crap, this was one hell of a battle, and I can see why people were saying that 9 and 10 are their favourite episodes, because I haven't seen 10 yet, but 9, holy crap, that was it was insane. I've never seen a battle like it. It was shocking. I mean, obviously I've never seen a battle like it because we don't have battles like that these days, but it was shocking. It was inhuman. It was just it was insane. We started off by seeing the two armies facing each other on the land. Rickon appears, tied and attached to a leash that Ramsay has. He cuts him free and says, let's play a game, which is very typical of Ramsay. We all know what he's really like. And the game was for Rickon to run all the way from his line to the front line of Jon's army. All the while, Ramsay was shooting arrows at Rickon. Some very, very close near misses. It made me feel so nervous throughout it. I didn't want it to happen. I wanted Ramsay to get bad luck and it to be like, ha, idiot. But then, all of a sudden, the arrow that Ramsay shot went straight into the body of Rickon. And just like that, Rickon was dead. Right in front of Jon, when Jon was galloping towards Rickon to save him. And that took me completely by surprise. I really hoped that that wouldn't happen. I really hoped that Rickon would come out alive, and it pains me to think about it because he didn't deserve that. We hadn't seen Rickon in a very long time, and for him to come back to the story and die like that, especially right before they won, it's just so shit. The fact that it was so sudden and it just happened completely, it got me. I wasn't prepared. It just had me by the balls, so to speak. There was a lot of moments during the battle that we thought Jon would not make it. Initially, as soon as Rickon died, he charged towards Ramsay's front line, and the cavalry started charging towards him. And that was the first moment I thought Jon wasn't going to make it. I thought that was when he was going to die again. But then this humongous, incredible crash, this collision of cavalry and army from both sides, just, you were right in the centre of it. You don't see something like that often. Most of the time in Game of Thrones we've seen the aftermath, or we've seen it from a distance, but this was right in the middle, right from Jon's eyes, right next to him, and you saw the cavalry and the horses colliding. I've still got the image in my head, and it's quite an incredible image of what happened, and quite brutal for the animals, for the people. Right, war back then was incredibly brutal, but being in the centre of it was something that you wouldn't necessarily imagine being a part of, and that makes the whole experience of watching this episode even realer for me. There was another time when they were surrounded by the Boltons and they had to start climbing to flee over this mountain of dead bodies, which I truly cannot believe that mounted up like that. That's a lot of dead bodies and quite unbelievable. And frankly, the whole reason that happened was because Ramsay was firing arrows into the war zone in which his own men were, and he's surely got to kill a lot of his own men by doing that. Basically, we were surrounded. So when the wildlings and everybody started to flee and climb up this pile of dead bodies, Jon got trapped underneath and he was being crushed, squashed, and was dying from asphyxiation. There was a number of times when he couldn't breathe, he was gasping for air, and eventually he climbed out of this pile of bodies, which thank God, because at the time I was so freaking nervous. I was terrified that he wasn't going to make it. It made me feel panicked for him. I was holding my breath. It made me feel so panicked for him, And that, right being in the centre of it, was a very real viewpoint. Incredible cinematography, incredible angles, and it made me feel panicked for him and made me feel like I was really in the scene. But it wasn't just Jon panicking and gasping for air. The entire people, the whole Wildling army and Jon's army were being crushed as this circle surrounding them of Bolton men became smaller and smaller. And people were getting crushed. And a side note, I work in live events, so I've studied, for my dissertation at university, I studied crowd disasters and crushing, and I've seen it happen in different places, different case studies, and it reminded me of that, because people were moving and they were being crushed and they were screaming, and it's quite a terrifying experience to see and be a part of, and seeing that so close by again made you feel like you were really in that scene. So I think the way they filmed it was really clever, because it made you feel a part of the series. That episode, you were a part of it. And then came the horns. Now at first, it completely went straight over my head. I was trying to think who potentially could be on their side, who could have heard the news and gone to help and sided with Jon. And then I saw the flags, their banners, and it was the bloody Knights of the Vale, and Peter Baelish was there with Sansa. And for the first time, I was bloody happy to see Peter Baelish. I was happy that he came to the rescue. But I know for a fact that he will have something up his sleeve. He will want something in return. I know that that's how Peter Baelish works. He will want something in return. It was a fantastic idea. I think Sansa probably played things very well by going to Peter Baelish, because Baelish always loved Catelyn Stark. And he would do anything for Sansa, he's said that before. So for Sansa to go to Peter Baelish to ask for his help was a risky, brave, and very lucky move. Very lucky move. And it played out very well. And all the bad guys were killed, all the Boltons were killed, and that's final. Peter Baelish saved the day. Or should we say, I'd rather say Sansa saved the day by getting Peter Baelish on side to help with the battle. And I'm glad that that happened, because throughout the entire scene, I had a feeling of dread inside me. That I knew that the battle would be lost, and the Boltons would continue, and Ramsay would continue. But when that happened, oh man, the good feelings that ran through me. Oh yes, it felt good. And Ramsay ran off back to his castle, like the coward he is. Jon, being the incredible swordsman, the incredible warrior he also is, went face to face with Ramsay, because Ramsay wanted to do the one-on-one battle. You know, now he's losing, that's what he preferred to do. But it so happened that Jon did have the upper hand, he was better, and he almost beat the shit out of him. He almost beat the life out of him. He left him, beaten, bruised, bloody, in the kennels. And Sansa got the revenge that she deserved. She avenged all the people that he's hurt. She got the revenge for what he did to her. And he died in a similar way to the ways he's killed people, which was to the hounds. And because he starved them for a week, they were starving. They were very hungry. And they would eat fucking anything. And that's where you have it. That's what we had. Ramsay is dead. And it was a very deserved, perfect death for him. I don't think I could have written it any better. Because that was a well-deserved death. And perfectly done. It would have been a shame to see him die at the hand of a sword, to see him die any other way apart from getting ripped apart by these hounds. So that's basically all my notes, and even though I didn't really analyse much, I spoke about what happened and then said my thoughts a little bit. I'm still quite baffled about what happened in that battle, and I've got these images of the crushing and people being crushed and surrounded and being killed just in my head, and brutal, absolutely brutal. So I guess that's all I've got to say, apart from I'm still trying to get over what happened. I'm very happy. I'm also quite sad for Rickon, but I'm also very happy, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens on episode 10. So thank you very much for watching both the reaction and this analysis. If you haven't watched the reaction and you've come all the way to the end of this video, then you're a plonker. But head over to my reaction. Part 1 will be on the end slate somewhere. Make sure you like the video. Click subscribe if you want to see more. Episode 10 will be with you next week, or very shortly. I'm not entirely sure. I'm away right now technically, so these are just being uploaded. automatically and scheduled. Ooh, and one last note, Season 7 will begin in April. I'll start doing them when I'm back because I return right at the beginning of April, so I'll start those reactions when I return. Thank you very much for watching, see you very soon for the beginning of Season 7. Have a wonderful Easter, if that's what you celebrate, and see you next time.